Adam Kidron is the CEO and co-founder of Beyond Oblivion. I think the demo will speak for itself, so I won't steal the thunder by going into it too much. So, Adam Kidron.
Cheers, thank you. Before we get into the demo, I thought I'd just explain where we came from so you understand the intent of Beyond Oblivion. In 2007, Apple published a really terrific and outstanding earnings report which blew the socks off any expectations. And later that year in 2007, they became a $100 million company for the first time. Today, 11 years later, the iPod begat the iPhone, which begat the iPad, and Apple's market cap increased to from $5 billion in 2000 to $350 billion today. At the same time, the market worth of the major labels and major publishers shrunk from $20 billion to far south of $10 billion. The sort of driving force between this historic transference of value is iTunes itself, where only for every six legal downloads, there are 94 illegal or grey market files, which generate no royalty income at all, but do add rather nicely to the experience of Apple products and to the perceived value of Apple products. Later in 2007, we released a record by Mims called This Is Why I'm Hot. It was a huge hit. It quickly rocketed in March from number 32 in the chart to number 1 in the Billboard chart, and in fact was the biggest record that Capitol Records had since the 1980s. Unfortunately, 3 months later, when we got the royalty report, there was not much royalties to be had. As a response to Apple's tremendous success and Mims' revenue-less success, I decided and I started to model out all of the plays that there were of digital music, all of the trillions of plays there were of digital music in a year. And what I found out was about 3% of them were paid for. Well, seeing as the entire history of recorded music has already been ripped, shared, and downloaded, and those files aren't going to come back, the question is, what to do about it? Was there really a solution? Is there a solution? And so, and one of the ways we looked at it was, if you look at any business, there is no business that can be successful with 3% of the people paying for it. So what happens is, in the music business, sort of suckers pay for downloads, right? And you end up in a situation where, say, in the car industry, if 3% of people pay for cars, cars would be appallingly expensive, and nobody would actually buy them. Well, that's the same in the music industry. What's happened is very few people pay for music, then the few people who do pay for music are overpay for music, and as a net result of the overpayment for music, demand decreases and legal services, the demand for legal services decrease. Beyond changes this. With Beyond, we believe that the download and the ownership should be free, and that what people should pay for and what people would be interested in paying for and where people see the value is in usage. And so Beyond is a usage model, and intrinsic to the Beyond model is the following. Now, somebody talked a bit earlier about bags of money. So the first thing is you kind of need bags of money to aggregate all of the music that there is, and we put it in the cloud. That's the first part. That's the bags of money part. The second part of it is then you have to license devices to play that music. So we put a very inexpensive, small license in the device that's actually embedded in the cost of the device, therefore almost invisible to consumers, that enables them to not only play that music from the cloud, but to download it and share it to other licensed devices. The third part of the equation is that once you've got this, is we're going to actually pay the creators and the composers of music. So we pay a small per play royalty on each play, no matter if the original file was ripped, shared, or downloaded, because the truth is, the customer doesn't care at all. They don't care about the source of the file, they just care that it plays. And finally, we actually encourage people to virally spread these files as playlists through social, through following friends, and publish these playlists around and make it very easy for people to then retrofit and license their devices to consume these playlists and send them on. What we're doing in every case, in every single case, is we're encouraging consumption. Right? Our belief is we have to encourage consumption. So everything is about increasing the amount of plays, and we are paying for every single play. The situation of the company is that we've required quite a lot of capital to move forward. And luckily, the capital markets have freed up a little bit, and there is the kind of capital available now to do things that were considered to be quite disruptive now, that are probably considered to be essential at this current point. What we're going to show you today is the core client beta that we released at CES. This is a demonstration just of the core client that plays music, that accesses music from the cloud, and publishes and shares playlists. It doesn't include the social and the discovery features that come into the public beta, which will be on April 4th of this year. We start with, after all of this ado, the mini player, which is simply a piece of album art, which you click on. Clicking on the album art plays a piece of music. Clicking again releases a drawer which shows the playhead. This is the music that you're going to be listening to in the future. Clicking again, and we start to get metadata. In this case, we're showing canned content. But actually what happens is that it gets populated with social data. Your friends, your followers, what they're recommending, what they think of John Legend, what they think John Legend's connected to, similar artists to John Legend. And in fact, the way that Beyond Oblivion works is we don't really crowdsource, we don't really aggregate responses at all. We follow and we encourage people to follow people who are experts, more expert than them. If you want to learn about John Legend, the most boring way of learning about what John Legend is to know what everybody else thought when they were looking or listening to a John Legend track. What's more interesting is to find somebody you trust in the ecosystem and simply follow them. From here, we can create, from any track, anywhere in the system, we can create a magic playlist. The magic playlist is 1.5 hours of contextualized music driven by the people that you follow. Some of it's in the cloud. The stuff that's in the cloud is denoted by a purple arrow. What's not in the cloud is not denoted by anything. The playlist will play online, mixing the stuff that's in the cloud and not in the cloud seamlessly. And when you unplug it and you take it away, what you're left with is the stuff that's in cache or the stuff that's impermanently downloaded. The cache is very intelligent and leads to a seamless experience. One of the things that we're most proud of is the ability to complete people's collections. The idea that you really own everything, that you have access to everything, that your birthright in music is the history of music. Here we have a David Bowie album. It was incomplete. The first 4 albums were on the playlist. The other ones now are quickly downloading to complete this album. From the consumer's perspective, they truly believe they have access to all the music that there is in the world. From here, we're going to publish a playlist. At the moment, the playlist is empty. I see that the playlist is called Adam. Simply dragging some tracks into this playlist. And from here, and don't stop the music, we're going to publish this playlist. It publishes to our social timeline, and from our social timeline, we can publish it to our friends, to our followers, and to anybody who's actually following me will get this playlist and decide whether they want to download it, whether they want to listen to it, but they'll have the benefit of my expertise on Rihanna, which are very small. We should have done something like Miles Davis, which I know a little bit more about. Having
Oh.
And I've got your pen right here. I was in the bar.
This is Bruce Henderson. He's in charge of product of the company.
Here's the list that I just shared with Adam, and some of the tracks are located on the device and others aren't. And with one button, I can complete all the tracks that are on my list.
What device is that?
This is a Samsung Tab. And I've got other playlists here. I can do the same thing. I can complete my work and share with any of my friends. Here's your tip.
Thanks a lot. So that's a brief introduction into Beyond Oblivion. We'll launch the public beta, as I said, around April 4th. We'll launch it commercially on June 12th, between June 12th and Labor Day of next year, depending on the territory, depending on which place in the world. Thank you very much for your time and your interest.
Thank you, Adam. We appreciate that demonstration. It ties in very well with what we've been talking about all morning.